In this film, I'm going to be trying out this Hauser 2 in a way that I hope gives you an idea of what it's like to play one of these instruments. Not everyone gets a chance to play a Hauser. I'm not going to just play a piece, I'm going to take a really close look at it and show you some of the sound characteristics of the instrument. Now, I'm not by any means an expert on vintage guitars, so if I say anything that you feel should be corrected or added to, or any thoughts that you've got, it'd be great if you leave some comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the film. Firstly though, I took the guitar along to get the thoughts of one of today's leading makers, Simon Ambridge.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's incredibly high quality Brazilian rosewood, really. It's very rare that you get such fine grain on Brazilian. I've had a few pieces myself, and also it's very completely quarter sawn, you know, so it's cut on the quarter.
What does that mean?
It just means that the annual rings are sort of parallel. They're perpendicular to the surface of the wood, so it's incredibly stable. It's unlikely to move a lot. And it's so straight. It's really incredible stuff. The back is not quartered, so it's probably a bit more prone to checking, you know, cracking slightly. But this is in good condition. The top's wonderful with some lovely medullary rays on it. It's quite a standard Hauser rosette.
And what about these saddle and nut? Do you know?
I've no idea what that material is. It's the same as the nut, isn't it?
Yeah, they used to have the pegs the same, didn't they? The early Hausers. Hauser 2s.
What, the buttons?
Yeah,
Yes, that's right, they did.
these.
Yeah. Those are Lansdorfers, aren't they? With mother of pearl. The head's a little bit thicker than Hauser 1, so therefore you always get that little step there, you know, which you wouldn't get with a Hauser 1. It's sort of continuous
Okay.
line, really. And I doubt if it was played much above sort of like the second position, really. It doesn't look that worn up here.
No.
Maybe here, but not. There's hardly anywhere up here at all.
The Hauser family are still making instruments today. Hauser 3 makes fine guitars, and Catherine Hauser is the next in line, and she's making some lovely guitars. But the really collectible instruments are the Hauser 1s and the Hauser 2s. Hauser 1s, as played by Segovia, are extremely expensive and pretty much out of reach of most people, I would say. Hauser 2s, like this one, are still expensive, but they're a little bit more affordable, shall we say. Hauser 2 would have made guitars with his father until his death in 1952. They were all signed by Hauser 1, though, up until then. But from that year on, he took over the business, and he kept the same design until about the early 1960s. It was about this time that Segovia stopped playing his 1937 Hauser and played a Ramirez. The guitar was getting a lot more popular, and players were moving into bigger halls, and they needed a little bit more power to project. And I think this influenced many players of the day, including Hauser 2. The earlier Hausers have a lower resonance down to sort of F, or E, or even I think there's a few E flat ones around. And the Hauser 2s are generally F sharps and Gs. This one is a G, which I'm reliably informed is the same as Segovia's 1937 Hauser, ironically, which you can see in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. But yeah, so Hauser carried on changing his design throughout his life, and by I think the mid-70s he kind of got to a different stage and he was experimenting with cedar tops. So I think we can safely say that this is a mid-era Hauser 2. Many players, including myself, wonder what it would be like to play one of these guitars. We've all heard the recordings by Segovia, Bream, the Romeros. I know I've looked at old photos of these guitars and wondered where they are today. They almost seem to have a mystique about them. So you get a real buzz when you open the case and see that label. There's an initial fear of handling it. The first thing that you notice is that the guitar's a lot lighter than you might expect. The earlier Hauser 2s and the Hauser 1s were even lighter than this. So the first note we usually play is this open E, and immediately, I hope I've got really good mics, so I hope you can hear just what a great tone that is. It's very pure, it will cut through. Yet at the same time it's quite a mellow sound. It's quite easy to find the sweet spot quite quickly. But you'll find it'll give you a lot of different tones quite easily. So I'm wondering, are the other notes going to be as good? Yes. Very singing, lots of sustain. C sharp. It's not usually a strong note, but you know, there's lots of lovely sustain there. So they're all sounding good. Let's have a listen to the B string. You can hear it's the same sort of quality as the E string. It's all very even, uniform. But it's when you get onto the third string that you really think, wow, this is something special. I hope that's coming across, that sort of vibrancy of that. Just incredible. So this sustain and the purity of it. The third string is often the weakest string on a lot of guitars. If you take this D sharp, which is not a resonant note at all, I'm going to damp the strings around it and have a listen to the sustain. Bit of vibrato, it'll even ring on for longer. So yes, very impressive. I could play chromatic scales all day on it, but I've often found that when you're trying a new guitar, it's best to play a piece that you're already playing, and you'll learn a lot more about it. I'm playing the Mompu Suite at the moment, so let's have a look at some of those movements. It's really easy to play. That's one of the first things you notice, and the evenness across those strings and the sustain. It's all there. It's all fantastic. So this fourth string sounding nice. We haven't tried that yet, but when you get onto the next little section with the third string, as I said before, it's really phenomenal, the tone quality of it. They sound like rest strokes, they're not. They're rest strokes. Free strokes. I've not played many guitars with as good a G as that. And here's a nice string here. Now this is a G resonance Hauser, so you don't expect that kind of power in the bass. So that's the G, that's the note, the resonance of the guitar, but what I've found is that the other notes around it, they're also particularly that F, you know, you could think is this an F resonance guitar if you didn't know. So the bass generally has a really lovely quality. Even as well. The bass strings will rattle if you hit them hard. But maybe that's the price that you pay. You just have to hold it back a little bit. But fantastic. One of the most noticeable things I've found about Hausers, and especially this one, is how the notes blend together. Close voiced notes, semitones. It's almost like the notes are kind of laser beam and they can cut through, but they still keep that sweet sound and mellowness. But this piece, this chorale, is a really good one to hear all of that going on. So I'll play some of it for you. You hear that? It's very even. There's that sustain in that. We were looking at that before. I found as well with this guitar, the softer that you play, the notes kind of seem to bloom. You don't have to play it hard at all. I've had other people say that about Hausers as well. Remember the C sharp? That's not usually a strong note. You can really hear that inner voice. So sweet, the G sharp. So the Kuna's a perfect piece for this instrument. It's also a piece that a lot of guitarists use to try out, you know, instruments they've not played before. There's a lot of different registers in it which tell you a lot about the guitar. And yeah, let's have a look at this. That sustain is just such a lovely sound. Another thing about this guitar I've noticed, it always seems to be in tune, the octaves. I've played a lot of guitars where they seem very difficult to tune. So you're hearing all of those notes, you know. These weird chords that that low bass, could be an F resonance, bit of Segovia vibrato there for you. It kind of makes you do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. The guitar, I never used to do those kind of things, but yeah, it has an effect on your playing. Yeah, so this section with the bass register around here, it really shows you that cello-like quality. A lot of guitarists would use this piece. one, I prefer to use this one because you've got the voices above it as well. And they're just so nice how they're blending together. It does make you enjoy the notes, you know. Actually, I gave a concert on this the other day in a church, and I found that I was wanting to hear the notes a bit more. I knew I had to play the next one, but yeah, maybe just stopping on them a little bit longer than I should have done. So yeah, it's great fun. So the next section. Again, you've got these voices. You can hear them so clearly. Inner voices. Like that little resolution there. It's just nice to play. And the cello line here. That I was playing that, and it was ringing on long enough to hear that clashing harmony. No, I didn't hit that hard. It's still going, you know. It gives you so many possibilities. It really helps you. It helps you playing. There's more of the same in the next movement. Really sustaining. Cello lines. And now it's just so clear. A lot of people play this ponticello here. I've noticed that little things make a big difference. Like if your nails aren't really smooth, the guitar will really pick it up. And the opposite, if you've got really nice nails, the guitar will thank you for it. So it's the same with the little movements. You hear that? So it kind of encourages you to do things like that. You know, the little angle of the nail can make such a big difference. There's a lovely line of thirds here, and I find if I play it really softly, like I was saying earlier, did you hear that? The vibrato on the really quiet note. So yeah, the quieter playing sometimes seems to I don't know, it just seems to do something to the guitar. The guitar seems to respond to it. So we've got more of the fourth string register here. So we already know how lovely that is. So that's all great, but something I want to show you is that this part. So that melody there, the third string is so good, it's really easy to get a nice clean line and not have a sudden dip in volume like you do on many instruments. It kind of holds its own, that third string. This chord here with the dissonance as well. That's what the guitar does. It kind of makes you keep playing things and experimenting. Yeah, so fantastic. So these clashes again, like before, they sound really nice. What the guitar does, one, it's not really a disadvantage, but you kind of run out of excuses. You can't make excuses anymore. You know, if I had a better instrument, or it's as good as it gets, really. So if you can't make things sound great on this, it's your fault, basically. It's not the guitar's fault. So we'll take it down to D now. It's a nice sound. I hope that clarity's coming over. Everything's ringing on, it's lovely balance, so it's a pleasure to play. Yeah, there's another bit later in the movement I wanted to show you. That's just so easy to bring that G out. Clarity in the rasguado at the end as well. It's not just this style of music that sounds great on an instrument like this. Let's have a listen to a little bit of Bach. You can hear the full suite here. I'll put the link up to it. But yeah, I mean, it's just all free stroke. I remember the first time I played that piece on this instrument in the hotel room when I'd gone to pick it up. I just burst out laughing at this bit. It's just so powerful. It's such a pleasure to play. Like any make of guitar, the Hausers can vary between instruments. They're not all the same. Some are great and others are unbelievable. You know, I haven't ever played a bad one. I've probably played about 10. And now the cost is high, but if you compare it to the equivalent car that you could get with the same money, As soon as you drive that car off the forecourt, it's gone down in value. This is only ever going to go up in value if you look after it. And that's the other thing, you know, humidity. You've got to check. You've got to really look after it. You worry about it. That's a downside. You worry about. You can't really fly around with it. You know, it's putting it in a hot car. You just can't do that kind of thing. So, so you have to be careful when you're buying it that everything's original as well. I had it checked over. I had my friend Miles with a mirror inside it, looking at everything and checking that there were no repairs or changes to it. The pegs are original. It's not been repolished. Things like that. So that can affect the value. Insurance. You're going to have to spend a little bit. That's something to bear in mind. It's going to cost you a few pounds a year to insure it. Dollars. So that's another thing to consider. And the most important thing is that the Hauser might not be the right guitar for everybody. I mean, a lot of players are playing these Damons and Smallmans and louder guitars because they want to project more. But I think you pay a price for that volume, in that you don't get all those tone changes. But you know, for me, I like the Hausers, but it might not be right for you. So I don't want to say this is the ultimate guitar or anything like that. It's just a lovely guitar, and we'll leave it at that. So as I said, I played a concert the other day in a church, and it really, once you've got that reverb, it really takes it to another level. It's such a joy to play it. So I'm going to play a little something now, and I'm going to put a little bit of artificial reverb on to give you an idea what it sounds like. Hope you've enjoyed this film.